Good morning. It is far too early in the morning on Thursday, the 16th of November. It is the first day of Mixtapeathon Cabin in the Woods edition. So I wanted to get on here before I go to work or get ready, as you can see, to pick my first book because this is the bingo board for this Mixtapeathon, but what the lovely ladies who create Mixtapeathon have done, they've done a choose your own adventure option for this time, which I am going to be choosing because, well, last time my goal was to read do every prompt on the bingo board. I can't reasonably justify doing that again this time because I am also doing NaNoWriMo. It is November. This readathon takes place in the last 2 weeks of November. I'm already behind on words. I need to prioritise writing at the moment, basically. So I'm going to do the choose your own adventure version and we'll just see how far along in the adventure I get. So let's pull it up. I'm also on my phone at the moment because I just filmed this clip and then I put my SD card into my computer and it wouldn't let me have the footage and made me format the card. So now that's gone and now it won't let me film anything on that SD card. So I need to figure that out, but I'm not waiting around till I have an SD card to start filming this vlog because I need to take advantage of when no one else is in the house and no one else is currently in the house. So let's find the prompts. So the first prompt is Lost in the Forest. With Mixtapeathon, every prompt has a song that goes with it. So for this prompt, the song is Out of the Woods by Taylor Swift. I don't know Taylor Swift songs very well. I think I know this one just because she is so popular and all over everything all the time. But yeah, Taylor Swift, not necessarily my bag. Don't love her, but don't hate her particularly either. Cool. The first prompt is, you find yourself in the middle of a thick forest. The trees form a dark canopy overhead and the ground under your feet smells of damp earth and moss. You feel like you've been walking for hours with no sense of direction when suddenly you come to a fork in the path you've been following. You can either 1. Follow the fork to the left. It fades out into inky darkness. You can hear the faint sounds of footsteps and something rustling in the leaves just ahead. For this option, read a book featuring a creepy forest or a book with sinister trees on the cover. Or option number 2, follow the fork to the right. It opens into a wide clearing with a signpost. You hear birdsong and wind blowing down from the distant mountains. For this option, read a book featuring a journey. Any kind of journey counts. Road trips, vacations, fantasy journeys, you name it. Get as abstract as you like. I'm always going to be the one going for the spooky option in this type of thing. But also, the next book I want to read is the second book in the Wayward Children series by Seanan Maguire, which I am 90% sure has a creepy tree on the cover because the cover looks like this. And I have just checked and I am right. That is a creepy tree. So that is what we're going to be reading next. I'm really excited because that whole series is on Scribd. And they're really short and I listen to stuff at 2 times speed. So I might have finished this book by the end of today, which would be amazing. So yeah, that's going to be my first book. It's Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan Maguire. So that is the book I will be reading for the first prompt and we will see how I get on. I will check in once I've read it, tell you how I feel, and then we'll move on to the next step in our adventure.
Hello. So I finished Down Among the Sticks and Bones, the second one in the Wayward Children series. It was very, very good. It's a 4-hour audiobook and I have a 2-hour commute and I listen to books on 2 to 2.5 speed. So I finished it on my way home from work today. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. It didn't need any more. It didn't need any less. The writing is really... It feels like you're reading a fairy tale, and that's exactly the right kind of writing that you need for a book in a series like the Wayward Children series. So for those of you who aren't familiar, the Wayward Children series is a series of novellas by Seanan Maguire, and they all revolve around these children who have gone through doors into other worlds, and some have come back, some are still there. It sort of depends which child you're talking about, and a lot of them revolve around the school run by, her first name's Eleanor and I can't remember her last name, but she's also been to Worlds, but basically there is a school run by this old lady who has also been to and from a World quite a few times, but she runs a school for the children, because they're all children, who have gone to other worlds, come back and can't get back to their other worlds because all of them want to go back to these different lands, and they're all described on a scale of logic versus nonsense and wicked versus virtue. And I think more sort of directional points like that become introduced as the series goes on. I'm only on book 2, but they're just so good. And I think one of the worries I had was that because they're so short, I didn't think the story would be good. I thought it would feel quite rushed. It absolutely did not. It felt like reading a fairy tale, and that's exactly what I wanted from it. And the whole series is on script, so I'm just going to keep ploughing on through that, and if they meet the criteria then great, but if not I will continue reading them anyway, because I'm devouring audiobooks at the moment because of my commute. So that is the first prompt done. Well done me, gold star, 1 out of 9. The next prompt is, can't remember because I don't have my computer in front of me, but here is another version of me reading out the next prompt. Just as you start to lose hope that you'll ever find a place to sleep, you trip over the stump of an old rotted fence post and look up to see a cabin obscured by bushes and brambles. It looks empty, the window shutters slowly creaking in the breeze and the door standing very slightly ajar. Your options are pretty slim, so you walk up to the steps and slowly creep inside. The cabin has, number 1, been abandoned by its last owner because it is very clearly haunted as hell. There is at least one ghost. You're sure you saw something with teeth staring in the window, and there's a weird invasive plant growing out of the chimney. You've got your work cut out for you. Read a book featuring a creature. Go wild, no pun intended with this prompt. Maybe you like creepy creature horror, maybe you're a vampire fan, maybe you like dragons, or maybe you, like monster romance. If it's a creature, it fits this prompt. Or option 2, it has been left by its last owner for the next person to enjoy as they head off for a new adventure. It needs a good sweep, but they've left a well-stocked larder, thick rugs on the floor, and instructions for where to find the local village. The house feels like it's welcoming you at home at last. Read a book featuring a house, building, or place that feels like a character in its own right. So, if we're following the spooky route, I am so inclined to go with the creature prompt, because I love me a fantasy creature of literally any kind. I'm writing a whole book about fantasy creatures. That is the whole point of NaNoWriMo this year. Fucking wizard frogs on my chest. Like I love me a weird fantasy creature. So we're going with that one. Let me just have a quick squint at my TBR. I've already started reading the 3rd Shauna Maguire book, and I don't think I can I don't want to use that for the next prompt, and B, I don't think I could without stretching the prompt really, really, really far. So I'm just going to have a quick look at my physical TBR and see what I can get out of that, because I am fucking bound to have some sort of magical creature on that list. So this is what we're working with. I have a couple of ideas along some very different scales. So let me just show you. I thought I knew which book I wanted to go with, and then I found 3 more that also fit the prompt that I'm also just so tempted to start reading. The first is Black Leopard, Red Wolf. This features a leopard, so that's a creature, and it's fantasy because it's a shape-shifting leopard. So that fits the bill fine. This is one I picked up in a charity shop ages and ages ago. It's about a hunter who breaks the rule of working alone and bands together with companions, including a giant, a witch, and a shape-shifting leopard. And I've heard lots of good things, and I know that there's at least one other book out in the series, and I'd be down to read that too. The one I thought off the top of my head was the next one in the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, Bloody Bones. This is book 5, because that's how far I've got. But like, there's vampires in every book. That's the whole point. Like, she's a vampire hunter, and she raises zombies. So that fully covers the prompt. I'm laughing because I've just seen the cover of the next one. I worked at BristolCon this year, and naturally I bought a few books, and I just kind of picked up whatever looked interesting. And I have a thing for goblins or for trolls or for anything along that lines. So when I saw this book, I had to pick it up. It's an independent publisher, like indie published, but it's about. I'm just going to read you the back. Okay, I'm just going to read you the back. The first volume in the banned underground collection of stories that can be read in any order or disorder. Perhaps disorder, for when two suburban teenagers arrived for an enforced holiday at their aunt's cottage, they find a lot more going on than they expected. Most of the local wizards and witches are all on holiday. Sorry, that's the annual joint professional conference, of course, in the south of France. It's a perfect opportunity for the local Dark Lord, in capital letters, who has been left behind, to summon up some goblins and try to invade the underground mansion of the dwarves. Can the teenagers help their new friend, the King of the Dwarves, save his kingdom? The Dark Lord has his goblins and his minions. The teenagers have a luminous green, jazz-loving bog troll, and his rhythm and blues band, and an amazing collection of jokes, one-liners, and awfully bad puns as this new fantasy series gets off to a cracking start. And someone has blurbed it as The Lord of the Rings written by Milton Jones. What? The Lord of the Rings as written by Milton Jones to a Led Zeppelin soundtrack. I'm not so sure about the rhythm and blues thing. Like, that's not totally my thing. But there's like, when else am I going to read a book with a jazz saxophone playing bog troll on the cover? I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't. Because frankly, if the quality of the cover is anything to go by, it's not going to be an amazingly written story. But I'm intrigued. I want to know about this bog troll. So I think I will start with this. And then I have 3 backups if I need 3 backups. So we're going to go with that. I just realised that if I took the other prompt, which is about having a house or a location that's like a character in its own right, would fit perfectly for this book, which I'm already that far through. And it's taking me forever to read. I don't know which would be better to go with, because like I would really, really like to finish this because it's due back at the library in a week. But also, I do want to read the Bog Troll book. So I'm a little bit torn. I might just see and take the choose your own adventure thing literally and see which book I finish first. But given that this one is this thin and this one is this thick, I think that's a little bit of a weighted, like, biased decision. But we'll see. We'll see which one I finish first, and that will decide which way we go in the adventure, whether we take the spooky house or the helpful house.
Hello. I made some real good sleeping choices last night. I got home from work and went straight to sleep, and now it's 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm wide awake. So I want to read the rest of this book. I'm currently 28 pages in. This is called Amulet of Kings, by the way. I keep forgetting the title because I'm so distracted by this bog troll on it. Okay, what I will say is that this has not been professionally edited. This has not been professionally formatted. I think I found 5 or 6 typos in the first, 20 odd pages. The main 2 being they referenced McDonald's twice. They spelt it wrong both times, but they also spelt it differently both times. And they were definitely talking about the restaurant both times. Story-wise, I'm still sort of invested. So I'm not DNFing this. I'm just having to overlook this. I never thought my skills as an ex-teacher of being able to read really nonsensical stories and like the stuff that kids will come out with would come in handy reading a book written by an adult. But here we go. It's a skill that I have, and it's a skill that I'm using. So far we have two very nondescript teenagers going to their aunt's house, who is a witch, who lives in a shack with a goat that does her hoovering for her. And there's a drunk youth that is hovering around with a village, somebody who doesn't have a name yet, and they've just run into the bog troll in her basement, who is into smooth jazz or something. I haven't quite got that far, but I'm assuming from, the blurb and the cover, smooth jazz is a thing. So yes, it's really like spaced out quite heavily, and it's only 288 pages. So I'm going to read for an hour and I'm going to see how far I can get, because I kind of just want this book over and done with in a way. And then I'm going to do some writing because I'm way behind in NaNoWriMo. And if I work hard, I might be able to scrape a win still. We'll see. That's a whole separate vlog. Yes, that's where we are. Let's read some more of this. I should also say that there's a caveat, a disclaimer at the beginning of this book saying that this is like the first edition that was published, and the author has since declared that he would love to republish it, having edited it a bit more, but his publishing company refused. I am on the author's side because they spell bog troll all lowercase on the back of the blurb. And every time so far in this book, they have spelled bog troll with a capital B and a capital T as one word. So the capital T just sort of sits in the middle. It bothers me. Also, I keep coming up with more things. The bog troll's called Fungus the Boogeyman, which is a terrible play on Fungus the Bogeyman, who is already a troll with a set of books in his own right. Like, it's an apt name for a troll, it's just a little bit on the nose, you know? If you have to point out your own jokes in square brackets with an asterisk on them, they're not funny enough. I can't do it. I'm not doing this to myself. This is clearly something that he wrote for fun, for himself. He is trying so hard to be Terry Pratchett and it's not landing. It's formatted and edited so poorly. He keeps introducing characters out of nowhere. It's not a good book. I made it 66 pages in. I'm not going to finish it. The bits I did appreciate were the fact that this grizzled old witch called Griselda Grotbag, I think, which is a good name for a witch. I appreciated that. But I like the fact that she has a bog troll living in her basement, and that even further under her basement is a dwarven kingdom. As you do. That was fun, but nothing else made sense. The conversations didn't make sense. The jokes they were trying to make didn't make sense. And then he tried to explain them to you, the author, just in brackets. Then I didn't love that. And yeah, that's me done. I'm going to move on to the next prompt, I think. Or am I? Does this mean I just sort of give up on this prompt? Or does it mean I have to try again? I don't know. We shall see. I think I'm just going to call it, that's what I tried for that prompt, and I DNF'd it. And we're going to move on, because I'm more excited to try other prompts than I am keep trying until I get one that I can finish, because I know this is a 2-week readathon, but also I don't have that time. Moving on. Time for the third prompt. So this is prompt number 3, inclement weather. You're foraging in the woods miles from the cabin where the good mushrooms grow, and the clouds begin to rumble overhead as a storm rolls in, hard drops of rain landing heavily on your hood. The wind whips your cloak around you and the leaves gust in flurries at your feet. This is, option 1, your favourite kind of weather. You pull down your hood to feel the rain, stomp in every puddle with your muddy boots, and snack on the last of the berries you collected as you wander home. Read a book with the perfect atmosphere for you. You can interpret this prompt in lots of ways. Maybe atmosphere for you means something creepy and ominous. Maybe it means you like cozy mystery. Maybe it means you like all vibes and low stakes. Whatever the perfect atmosphere for you is, that's the book for you. Or this is the worst weather ever. You hate rainy season. You race out of the tree line and take shelter in a cave, making a fire and unwrapping the blanket strapped to your pack. You're going to hole up here and read your book until it's good and dry. Read a rainy day book. A rainy day book is a book you've been saving for a rainy day or have been putting off and avoiding for just the right time. You're stuck in a cave. now is the right time. Neither one of those is jumping out at me because, I don't know. So either read a book with the perfect atmosphere or read a book I've been putting off. I feel like in the spirit of trying to work through my physical TBR, which I'm still currently trying to do, I should read a rainy day book. But I'm not sure. Oh no, does that mean I have to read the next Cassandra Clare in the series? Because I've got all of them and I've been trying to read them one by one. That's the book. I think it's Crown of Midnight, Queen of Air and Darkness. It's that trilogy. Whatever the first one in that trilogy is, that's the next one I have to read, which I have been putting off. I don't really want to read that right now. What else have we got? Okay, so that's the big stack of Cassandra Clare's. So I think it is Lady Midnight, or is it Lord of Shadows? One of those, whichever the first one, focus, in this trilogy is. I think that's the next one I have to read. It might technically be one of these two on the top, but I don't really want to read those because they're anthologies and I don't have the spoons for that. The other ones that you could arguably say I've been holding out for a rainy day is this one, The Wind Singers by Megan Lindholm, otherwise known as Robin Hobb. That's the second in her Wind Singers series. It is also quite short, which would work well for me. Or maybe Among the Beasts and Briars, or one of these two, because I picked these up in a charity shop at the beginning of the year when I was volunteering for Oxfam, and I just haven't picked them up. Yes, let me make a decision. Okay, in the spirit of clearing things off my TBR and keeping myself as low stress as possible, because I am doing Nano at the same time as this, I'm going to pick the short book that is kind of cozy and it's I'm picking the short book, basically. I also know that this series is very low effort to read. There are high stakes, but it doesn't take a lot out of me to read it. It doesn't take a lot of focus. The writing isn't dense. It's easy to read, basically. So I'm going to pick The Wind Singers by Megan Lindholm. I don't actually know what this one is about, but it is the second in the series. So the first one in the series was about Key and Vandian. Key is a traveller whose family was slaughtered by harpies, which made it awkward because when she had to go back to the funeral for her husband's clan and family worship harpies, and it simultaneously told the story of her having to work out that initial grief and the awkwardness of that, because she's not very close to her husband's family while sorting out the funeral, but also while she's working a job for someone in the city, because she has a cart and she goes over this mountain pass quite a lot, so she's often asked to carry things across this pass. But she meets some interesting characters and works out that maybe not all was as it seemed about the bargain that she was given. So I do want to see where the next book goes, because there wasn't an obvious storyline that they could have lent into in the next book, if that made sense. They could have she could have ended the book in book one. So I'm interested to see where this is going, because it's a 4-book series and it's also one of the series I'm trying to finish off. So that makes good headway on that. And it's also another book I can tick off the physical TBR, and it's nice and short. So that is my next book. Ignore Rusty, he's getting really excited about his treat ball. I am checking in because I've changed my mind. Just completely. I have just DNF'd the book I was reading outside of Mixtapeathon. Do you fucking mind? He's got his... You can't see. He's got his treat ball stuck down the back of my desk. It can stay there for a second. I've changed my mind. I've DNF'd a book that I've been trying to read for 3 weeks. It's not working. I'm not interested. And I'm just not excited to read Wind Singers by Megan Lindholm. And that's not going to get me through this readathon. I want to enjoy this readathon. So I'm going to lean hard into the atmosphere quote, the one that asks you to read a quote where the atmosphere feels right for you. And I have been looking forward to this book since I heard about it, because it is a haunted house. It is a woman accepting ownership of this house, finding a home, finding a family, uncovering secrets. That is an atmosphere that is absolutely perfect for me. I'm so excited to read it. So I'm going to be reading Starling House by Alexi Harrow for the next prompt. And I hope that I'm going to enjoy it as much as I think I will. Fingers crossed. Good morning to a very, very sunny, wintry morning. I have just finished Starling House by Alexi Harrow, and it was 5 stars. I was really pleased because I think that's the first anticipated read of this year that has been 5 stars and not slightly disappointed me in some way. It was a really interesting read. It reminded me a lot of Holly Black's writing in the sense that it was contemporary fantasy. There were a lot of details of contemporary life that are classically quite jarring with fantasy. So the fact that she kept referencing sort of 7-Eleven food and worrying about bills and like fighting for the aircon, having to turn the internet off, like little things like that just have no real place in classical fantasy, just put this like very human tint on the story, which is something that Holly Black does a lot, which I enjoy when it's done well, and Alexi Harrow definitely did it well. It's a really interesting story. I never quite knew exactly where it was going to go. You get the gist quite early on, but it is one of those stories where the multiple threads only tie themselves up together at the end. I didn't hate the romance as well, which is impressive because that's hard to do. It was slow burn, but it felt realistic, and the protagonist, Opal, is a spitfire you can get behind. Like, she fucks up and she makes choices that are poor fucking choices, but you still stick by her and you still like root for her all the way through the book, which I loved. Yeah, overall 5-star read, would definitely recommend. It is kind of a haunted house. The house is definitely a character in its own right, which is a trope that I know has been getting a lot of hype recently. So if you want an example of a book like that, this is a very good one. It's also not too long as well. I found myself staying up later every night than I wanted to because I was trying to read this book, and just like one more chapter. And it's been a while since I've had a book, which was really good. I'm going to read the next prompt in a second and move on to the next prompt. Because I'm doing the choose your own adventure style story, it's doing one prompt at a time, but all the self-care prompts in this bingo board are at the end of the story, at the end of the prompts, if that makes sense. And because this readathon ends in a couple of days and I've got basically a whole empty weekend now, what I'm going to do, carry on ahead with the book prompts, but I'm going to skip to the self-care ones, and I just want to do all the self-care ones today. So I think I have 2 more bookish prompts to get through, but the self-care ones, I'm just going to do it all today and really slather on that self-care. Yes, that is my plan. It is very, very sunny outside right now. It's also very, very cold, which is the best kind of morning. So let's just have a look at the prompts and see what they are going to do to guide my day. You're just going to have to ignore the blue thing on my glasses because I can't be bothered. But this is the next bookish prompt. This is Winter Fuel. You've been in the cabin for a month and your home improvements are starting to pay off. It almost feels homely in there, give or take a few odd creaks under the floorboards during the night. But when you throw open the front door this morning, you discover that there's a sudden sharp frost on the ground, and as the day plods on, you can feel the chill creeping its fingers around the cracks in the window shutters. Your first winter in the cabin is rushing closer, and your stack of firewood is dwindling fast. Do you arm yourself with an axe and head out into the wilderness? There's a copse of trees deep in the forest that you're sure will still be dry. After all, last time you walked through it, there really seemed to be a lot of twigs and leaves crackling behind you as you wandered home. Definitely dry. You know what? Now you think of it, there did seem to be a lot of strange slash marks on some of the trees, so maybe someone else was looking for firewood. Huh. Is that a leg over there? Read a slasher or a horror. Bonus points if it's set in winter. Or you can throw your cloak on and head into town. There's a lovely villager with a magnificent ginger beard and very serious looking arms who can absolutely cut down your firewood for you. And you can hire a nice cart to take you, your firewood, and all of your winter decor back to the cabin. Why would you chop when you can hire someone to chop and do your seasonal shopping at the same time?
So read a book that makes you feel warm inside. Maybe that's a romance about someone with some serious arms, or maybe it's a book that you think will make you feel cozy. Maybe it's even time to break out those books with snow on the cover. Okay, so the choices are read a horror or a slasher, or read a book that makes you feel cozy. Let's have a look at what I've got. Okay, we're going to start with my library books first, just because that seems sensible to prioritize library books. I've got the second in the Thursday Murder Club series, which I think could potentially be described as cozy, I think, if cozy murder is a thing. It's about stolen diamonds, and one of the Thursday Murder Club gets a letter from an old colleague who is being hunted by someone. Being hunted doesn't really go hand in hand with the like cozy vibes I was thinking. So maybe not, though I did really want to read that. Maybe I'll read it on the side. Then I have the Queen's Assassin by James Barclay. This is about Nida, who is a battlefield surgeon who is taken from the battlefield where she thrives to a court where her life hangs ever more precariously in the balance. And then she's learning about secrets and conspiracies, and it affects the state of a nation. That sounds really good, but it doesn't fit either of the two prompts. I also then have The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. I'm not sure this one's going to cut it either. An Emperor's Justice who's a detective, judge, and executioner all in one, but as chaos threatens to engulf the empire, these are dangerous times to be a justice. That I don't think that fits the slasher or the cozy vibes. And then this one, which I'm really excited about, is The Bandit Queens, which I heard about ages and ages ago. I can't remember where I heard it from. I heard about it from, but it's about a woman in, where is this? Is this India? I think it's India. It doesn't say on the blurb that I can see, but it's about Geeta, who's believed to have killed her vanished husband, a rumour she hasn't bothered trying to correct because a reputation like that can keep a single woman safe in rural India. It's set in India. But when she's approached for help in ridding another wife of her abusive drunk husband, her reluctant agreement sets in motion a chain of events that will change the lives of all the women in the village. It's darkly irreverent and a fresh take on feminist revenge thriller, which acknowledges the unfortunate status quo for women everywhere and shows us that female connections and friendships are what carry us through the darkness and absurdity of life. I'm not sure that constitutes a slasher. It definitely doesn't constitute horror. I'll see what else I've got on the TBR. Dude, you're not allowed in here. Where do you think you're going? What are you doing? A quick reminder that this is what we are looking at. A lot of this does not fit slasher, horror, or cozy. I think what we might have to do is read the next Anita Blake, because those are like the books that they're the books that I use as palette cleansers between anything that I'm reading. Would you stop nudging my foot, child? Thank you. So they are cozy to me in that respect, because I know what to expect from every book. So I'm not like, I don't think I'm explaining this very well. I think I would describe the Anita Blake series as cozy to me because they're like palette cleansers. They're reliable. They follow a formula, and every single one of them so far has been 4 or 5 stars. And I'm also trying to work my way through the series, which is 29 books long. So I think we're going to go with the next Anita Blake, which is a good thing because I tend to read them all in one sitting. So that could be good. Do you mind? This little rat shouldn't be in here. Should you? No. You've got dusty whiskers, mate. Yeah, I'll put you down. He's peed on the bedroom floor. Cool. So this is our next one. This is Bloody Bones. It is book 5 in the Anita Blake series, and it says when monsters are involved, it's never just one dead body. One way or another, the dead multiply. First there were the dead in the graveyard, 200 years dead. I'd been hired to raise them to settle a dispute over who owned the land they were buried in. Then there were the 3 dead teenagers in the woods, slaughtered in a way I've never seen before.
And then they found the dead girl, drained of blood and left in her bed. I knew what that meant, of course. It didn't take a degree of preternatural studies to figure out something was wrong. But I was right in the middle of it. My name is Anita Blake. Welcome to my life. That sounds like it might fit the slasher thing as well as the cozy mystery. So I think this is definitely the book that we're going to go ahead and read. Okay, so we've got the next reading prompt out of the way. But now I'm just going to cover the self-care prompts so we decide what we are doing, and then I will get dressed and brush my hair. Maybe. We'll see. The first one is the Village Inn. You either indulge in your favourite bougie drink or you post your currently reading to your social media. Now I'm torn because today I would quite like to walk up the hill to a nearby like park situation, woody parky thing, which does have a coffee shop that will do me bougie drinks, because the bougiest I get is like a hot chocolate with all the works, with like marshmallows and cream and all that, which I don't make at home very often. So that would qualify. But I am also planning to go up there to take Instagram pictures, to try and up my Bookstagram game and just take some more interesting pictures. So we shall see. Maybe I just go up there and take some pictures and then post one of them today rather than spreading them out like I normally do. Or I might go up and have a bit of a drink. Maybe I'll go buy myself lunch because it is 20 to 12 and I'm quite hungry. We'll see. It'll probably depend on how busy it is. It's quite a popular dog walking area, so there's always lots of people around. But those are two very real options that I can get done today. The next one, cobwebs. So either do something that blows away the cobwebs, or find a book on your TBR that's connected to one you've read this year. Now, I'm technically already doing the second because I have read the other 4 books in this series this year, so that is 100% connected. The parky foresty thing I want to go to is up a very steep hill, and I haven't done any exercise in the better part of a fortnight, so I think hiking up a hill that steep would probably qualify as blowing away the cobwebs. Also, it's been a hot minute. Oh, Jesus. It's been a hot minute since I tried to do proper photography. I used to do it at school and I basically haven't done it since. I don't know if I'll actually crack out my camera because it is a bit shit and my phone is better. But actively trying to like take some decent book pictures, maybe that qualifies. I think these are all going to be sort of, we'll see when we get there, prompts. The next one, A Song in the Trees, is spend some time with your favourite music, your Spotify day list, or your mixtape, or the mixtape playlist, because obviously there is a playlist for this whole readathon. That's not something that I super get involved with. Maybe I should, and embrace like the actual point, like it's called mixtapeathon for a reason. Or build a playlist inspired by a book stack and post it on social media. So I have options there. I'm tempted to just listen to music because I'll need something to listen to on the way up, and I'm vibing music today rather than an audiobook because I've already done quite a lot of reading today and that's a lot of words in my brain. And then the last one is bad habits, which is either indulge in your favourite piece of media or choose a book that makes you want to reread it constantly and post on social media. It's unlikely to be the second one just because I feel the urge to reread every so often, and at the moment I can't think of a single book that I would like to reread, but I can indulge in my favourite piece of media. At the moment that would probably be Grey's Anatomy or Criminal Minds, so I think put my feet up and watch some TV with some Stardew Valley is probably what that will entail. Okay, yes, I think that will do it. I'm going to go do my little jaunt up the hill, listening to some music, take some pictures, have a bougie drink, and see how many of those prompts that takes off. Mixtapeathon. I did not finish Bloody Bones by Anita Blake.
I'm still reading it. I just didn't finish it. I am really enjoying it. But that is the end of the readathon. So I had a much more relaxed time this time round. I had a much more relaxed time this time round because I was doing Nano at the same time. What I really like about Mixtapeathon is the fact that you do have nearly half the board as self-care prompts rather than just reading prompts, because I think that personally reminds me that I'm not just supposed to be marathoning books necessarily. Like, I do have to take care of myself as well. Which is always a nice reminder. I didn't do the full bingo board this time, and that is fine. I did get 3 bingos, technically, if you double up, which I'm still very pleased with. So, thank you very much to the creators of Mixtapeathon. I will be back next year.